Once some monkeys were sitting in a tree. The tree was at such a place where construction of a temple was going on. A carpenter was sawing a huge log to cut it into 2 parts. Just then the bell rang for the lunch break. The carpenter pushed a wedge into the split portion of the half-sawed log and went to take his lunch, along with other workers. When the monkeys saw that there was nobody around, they jumped down from the tree and came near the temple. They began to play with the tools lying there. One of the monkeys, who was very curious about all those things, went round the half-sawed log, then sat on top of it. He spread his legs on both sides of the log, whereas his tail dangled through the split portion. Now the monkey started prying the wedge out of the log with his hands. Suddenly, the wedge came out. The split parts of the log firmly snapped shut together, crushing the monkey's tail in between. The monkey cried in pain and jumped off the log, but his tail was cut off forever. A son took his old father to a restaurant for an evening dinner. Father, being very old and weak, while eating, dropped food on his shirt and trousers. Other diners watched him in disgust while his son was calm. After he finished eating, his son, who was not at all embarrassed, quietly took him to the washroom, wiped the food particles, removed the stains, combed his hair and fitted his spectacles firmly. When they came out, the entire restaurant was watching them in dead silence, not able to grasp how someone could embarrass themselves publicly like that. The son settled the bill and started walking out with his father. At that time, an old man amongst the diners called out to the son and asked him, "Don't you think you have left something behind?" The son replied, "No, sir, I haven't." The old man retorted, "Yes, you have. You left a lesson for every son and hope for every father." The restaurant went silent. Moral: to care for those who once cared for us is one of the highest honors. We all know how our parents cared for us for every little things. Love them, respect them, and care for them. Once upon a time, in a jungle there lived a jackal by the name of Gomaya. One day, he was very hungry and was wandering in search of food. While wandering, he came across a battlefield. There he saw a big drum lying under a tree. When the wind blew, a tender branch grown at the root of the tree struck the drum, producing sound of a drum beat. The jackal examined the drum from all sides and then beat the drum with his front paws. The drum made a sound. Now the jackal thought that there might be some other small animal inside the drum and that would make a very tasty meal for him. But he found the top of the drum too tough to tear off. The jackal thought of a plan and began to beat the drum with both his front paws. The sound of drumbeat filled the whole jungle. A leopard, who was attracted towards the sound of the drum, came near it. The jackal said to the leopard, "Your Majesty, there is some animal hiding inside the drum. Since you have sharp claws and strong teeth, you can tear off the top of the drum and catch your prey inside the drum." The leopard was himself hungry, so he hit the top of the drum with his heavy paws. The drum burst with a sound, but there was no animal inside. The drum was empty. Seeing the empty drum, the leopard became very angry and said to the jackal, "You have wasted my time. There is no food inside the drum, so I will kill and eat you." The leopard pounced upon the jackal and killed and ate him. Once upon a time, there lived many mice in a grocer's shop. There in the shop, they ate delicious wheat and rice, pulses and nuts, bread and butter and biscuits. They grew fat day by day. One day, the grocer thought about the heavy losses that he had to suffer because of the menace of the mice. This angered him so much that the next day, he brought a big fat cat to his shop. The big fat cat began to catch and kill the fat mice every day. The mice became worried. They called a meeting to discuss the problem. "Let's get rid of this cruel fat cat," the leader of the mice said. "But how?" the other mice asked. All of them began to think. Then one mouse said, "We should tie a bell round the neck of the fat cat. So, whenever she would move towards us, the bell would ring and we will run into our holes immediately." All the mice became very happy to hear this. They began dancing with joy. But their joy was short-lived. An old and experienced mouse interrupted their merrymaking and shouted, "Fools, stop it and tell me, who'll bell the cat?" No mouse had the answer to this big question. One night, a woman was waiting at the airport for the flight, but she had to wait for several hours. So she went to airport shops and bought a book and bag of cookies. While she was by reading her book, she noticed that the man sitting behind her grabbed a cookie or two from the bag. Lady ignored him as did not wanted to make scene there. So as the time passed by, she munched cookies and watched the clock, seeing that cookie thief finishing her stock. By the passing time, she was getting more and more irritated, thinking, "If I wasn't nice, I would have blackened his eye." Every time she took one cookie, he took one. When the last cookie was left, that man nervously took that cookie and broke it in half. He offered other half to Lady. Seeing this, she snatched the other half from his hand and thought, "My God, this guy have some nerve that even after eating half of cookies he didn't even show any gratitude toward her." She was in relief when called for flight. She gathered her things and headed towards gate without looking back. When she boarded the plane, sat in her seat reading her book, which was almost complete. As she reached her hand in her baggage, she was surprised to see that there was a bag of cookie in front of her eyes. This made her think if this was her own cookie bag, then the other one from which she was eating was his, and even after that he tried to share. By the time she realized that she was the rude one and mistake was hers, it was too late to apologize. Moral: we should not judge. It's a matter of perspective sometimes. It was a busy highway that connects all major roads in the city. People rush in their vehicles and it leads to chaos in the busy road. Driving the vehicles beyond the speed limit became the major problem in the city. A police officer decided to watch for the vehicles that are driven beyond the speed limit. He found a perfect place to hide himself to watch for the rash driving vehicles. Very surprisingly, one day, the police officer was very surprised that everyone who drove on the road was under the prescribed speed limit. There was none that crossed the speed limit. Out of curiosity, the police officer decided to find the reason for the same. He walked for a while and saw a 12-year-old boy standing near a huge signboard, "Radar trap ahead." The police officer wanted to move further to find out what exactly happened. Almost about 100 yards beyond the boy who stood with the signboard "Radar trap," there was another boy who stood with a signboard carrying the words, "Tips." Also, there was a big container almost filled 3/4 with money. Once in a forest there lived a lion who was very proud of his strength. He would kill any animal which came in his way just for fun. All the animals in the forest were worried about their survival. "If the lion keeps this up, none of us will be left in the forest," said the bear. "He kills much more than he really needs to," squeaked the little hare. "We have to come up with something to stop this massacre," said the monkey. So they all joined together and went to meet the lion. "O king of the forest, we have come to make a small request," they all said to the lion. "Now what would that be?" asked the amused lion. "You are the king of the forest, but soon there will be no animals to rule over. So we beg you to stop this unreasonable killing, and we promise that one of us will come to you every day for your food," pleaded all the animals with the lion. So from that day, the animals drew lots to decide on who was to go to the lion as his prey. One day, the lots fell on the hare to visit the lion. All the animals consoled him and sent him on his way to meet his doom. But the hare was a clever animal. He did not want to die at the hands of the cruel lion. He saw an old well on the way. It was very deep and was a danger for all the animals. He thought of a plan. The little hare went to sleep near the well all day. In the evening, he made his way to the lion's den. The lion was terribly hungry by then, and when he saw a tiny hare coming towards him, he became furious. "You little thing, how dare you come so late? How dare they send such a small animal? I will kill them all," the angry lion roared. "It is not my fault. Oh mighty lion, there were 3 other hares with me, but on the way here, another lion attacked us. I just managed to escape. The other 3 hares were eaten by that lion," said the hare. "What? Another lion in my jungle? Take me to him immediately," said the lion in a fit of rage. The hare took the lion to the well and pointed it out to him from a distance. "The other lion jumped out at us from inside the well when we tried to drink some water from the well." The lion rushed angrily to the well and peeped in. There inside the well he could see another lion glaring at him. What the foolish lion did not realize in his anger was that he was looking at his reflection. He roared angrily at the other lion. He heard an answering roar. It was only the echo of his own roar. But the lion thought that the other lion was challenging him. He jumped in and landed inside with a loud splash. And that was the end of the wicked lion. It's story of a poor man who was extremely lazy. He always dreamed of being rich and still didn't want to work for it. He used to ask for alms even just to feed himself. Luckily one morning he got a pot of milk as alms. He was very happy. He went home with that pot and boiled it, drank some of it and added curd to remaining of it to turn it into curd. He laid down and soon fell asleep. While sleeping he dreamed about getting rich one day and his thoughts were turned to pot of milk he got that day. He dreamed, by morning the pot of milk will be turned to curd. Once the curd is set he can churn it to get butter out of it. Then make ghee out of that butter. Once he get the ghee, he would sell it in the market, and with that money he will buy a hen and hatch its eggs. There will be many chickens with which he will soon have a poultry farm of his own. He kept on imagining that, after selling his poultry and buying some cows, he can open a dairy farm. All the people will buy milk from him, and then he will be rich soon and will buy jewels which he can sell to king. He will be so rich that he will marry a beautiful girl and soon will have a handsome son. If son will do any mischief, he will beat him with a big stick. During this dream he unknowingly picked up stick laying near him and started moving it, thinking of beating his son in dream. Suddenly he hit the pot and broke it. Far away kingdom, there was a river. This river was home to many golden swans. The swans spent most of their time on the banks of the river. Every 6 months, the swans would leave a golden feather as a fee for using the lake. The soldiers of the kingdom would collect the feathers and deposit them in the royal treasury. One day, a homeless bird saw the river. The water in this river seems so cool and soothing. I will make my home here, thought the bird. As soon as the bird settled down near the river, the golden swans noticed her. They came shouting, "This river belongs to us. We pay a golden feather to the king to use this river. You cannot live here. I am homeless, brothers. I too will pay the rent. Please give me shelter," the bird pleaded. "How will you pay the rent? You do not have golden feathers," said the swans, laughing. They further added, "Stop dreaming and leave once." The humble bird pleaded many times. But the arrogant swans drove the bird away. "I will teach them a lesson," decided the humiliated bird. She went to the king and said, "O king, the swans in your river are impolite and unkind. I begged for shelter, but they said that they had purchased the river with golden feathers." The king was angry with the arrogant swans for having insulted the homeless bird. He ordered his soldiers to bring the arrogant swans to his court. In no time, all the golden swans were brought to the king's court. Do you think the royal treasury depends upon your golden feathers? You cannot decide who lives by the river. Leave the river at once or you all will be beheaded, shouted the king. The swans shivered with fear on hearing the king. They flew away never to return. The bird built her home near the river and lived there happily forever. The bird gave shelter to all other birds in the river.
Thank you for watching video. For such a more videos, subscribe us now.